Are you proud of yourself? How about our country? Our guest this hour says Americans have lost pride in self and country, and it shows. Good morning, I'm Joy Cardine. This is the Ideas Network of Wisconsin Public Radio. It's 8 minutes past 6 o'clock on this Tuesday, July 22nd. We will talk about America's I don't care trend with trends forecaster Gerald Celente, who says we can see this trend in how we dress, how much we weigh, and how we feel about politics. What are the signs, significance, and solutions of the I don't care trend? We'll find out, and we'll welcome your observations, questions, and reactions at 1-800-642-1234 or send an email to talk@wpr.org. You can also post on the Joy Cardine Show Facebook page or tweet us at Joy Cardine Show. Our guest is Gerald Celente, publisher of the TrendsJournal. He is the author of the article, Blame I Don't Care: How a Lack of Pride in Self and Country Affect Health and Spirit. Good morning.
Good morning, Joy.
Thanks for being with us. So what prompted this article?
Well, it's called, actually, the full article is Don't Blame Obamacare, Blame I Don't Care, in the sense that we do have the most expensive, or one of the most expensive healthcare systems in the world. But you could have the best and the greatest and the most expensive, and it's not going to make any difference, not when you look at the health of the people. One of our researchers, Dr. Mitchell Skolnick, is forecasting that the greatest cost to America in health care in the coming years is going to be the obesity plague. And what we do is we break it out from not only that, but looking far beyond it, what's causing it, what's behind it. And it's, as we see it, and by the way, the motto of the TrendsJournal is think for yourself. We don't tell people what to think or what to believe. We just say this is the way we see it and here's why. And that is, it's a very different culture. You know, they just had something about, one of the airlines from the 1970s, and you look at the stewardesses, and then we put photos back in the TrendsJournal of what it used to be like flying, not too long ago, again, only back in the 70s, and how you were being served on the plane, and now people eating out of a pizza box. And in the old days, and I remember it as well, and I began flying for business in the early 70s. People got dressed up when you got on a plane. Now it's it's a flying circus.
Well, why is that a sign of a lack of pride in ourselves that we have decided not to get all gussied up to get on an airplane?
Well, it's not only gussied up; it's coming in like a slob. I mean, look at people, coming in on a plane with flip-flops and, you're dressed like, you just rolled out of bed. And then again, you look at the obesity issues. You look at the behavior. I mean, there was just a post that came out in one of the Irish papers, and they had a sign up in Ireland, no coaches and no loud Americans. They didn't want them in the restaurant. So then you go, again, at every level. You go to the theater, you might as well look like you just came out, cleaning out your garage. In the old days, there used to be a respect and a dignity of showing up with class and dignity. And at every level, what we did is we took photos. We have like one of Sarah Vaughan, for example, singing, and then Miley Cyrus. You want to call it music, knock yourself out. Here's somebody with their tongue sticking out and dressed up, in a costume. That doesn't take talent to do that, but it takes talent to do those other things. So it's a downgrading as we see it at every level. The foods we eat. Again, you go back, and I don't want to sound like an old guy, but I'm in my late 60s. There was never a thing where people were going down supermarket aisles in these electric carts because they're too obese to walk.
Yeah.
This just didn't exist. There was no such thing as type 2 diabetes among young children when I was growing up. I mean, this just didn't pop out of the ground. It comes from the food that we eat. the quality, the low quality of it, and the massive amounts of what they're consuming. So you could, again, we're saying don't blame Obamacare. You could have the best healthcare system in the world. It's not going to make one bit of difference when I don't care.
Yeah. Do you think that people are obese because they don't care?
Why else? You know, I have our offices, as I'm speaking to you now. We're in Colonial Kingston, New York, and it's an old supermarket, like an old A&P supermarket that we have. And we have these big windows. As we're speaking this moment, a woman is walking by that is probably, I'm going to say 100 pounds overweight. And I see this all day long. And I see it in young kids. It wasn't like this. When you went to school, there were heavy kids, a few. Some of it was genetic and some of it was self-imposed. You look at the old photos of the recruits going into the service, and, like those old World War II things, and everybody's all these trim guys. Matter of fact, a study just came out from the UK that they don't know if they're going to have soldiers that are capable of fighting because they're so, they're so overweight. So so who else is doing it? It's not coming, we're doing it to ourselves. But again, and it's in the dress. It's in virtually every element of society. Well, go on. I'm sorry.
I was going to just I wanted to go into why we don't care.
I think it was it's in looking at it, it's a cultural breakdown, and that's what we also did. By the way, I'm a political atheist. I don't take sides on issues. I just look at the facts for what they are. To me, they're the Bloods and the Crips, no difference. But anyway, what we did is one of them, we took, when we showed how the whole campaigning, we're working on this now, presidential campaigning changed and how the bar was lowered. And it was when Bill Clinton was running against Ross Perot and George Bush Sr., and all of a sudden he shows up on MTV with dark sunglasses playing a saxophone. And I said, what's going on over here? This was a shock to the nation at that time. So what's happening is across the bar, across the spectrum, the bar is being lowered as we see it.
So we see our political leaders with lowering the bar, so we lower the bar ourselves?
They say the fish rots from the head down, and that's what a leader does. It leads. You listen to the language of the politicians. Stuff, they'll say things like stuff and folks and this and that. And, so they're talking to a bunch of kids. And we've become kids. We've become those kids. And then you look at also the people that say, people are too reliant on others to, they don't want to take self-responsibility. So they look to the government to help them. Is that true? I don't know. But I do know is that the facts lie in the numbers and within the dress. There was a story in recent New York Times in the style section. Not one critical element. It was only the thing that how stylish and classy and elegant it is to wear colored sneakers. Okay, if you want to believe that, knock yourself out. Colored sneakers are not elegant, but to marketers they are, and then to people who never knew any different they are, and then you read the comments and who these great designers are. They're all young guys. I've been wearing sneakers all my life. Hey, if you've been wearing sneakers all your life and you're a kid that's been wearing them, then if you say that's elegant, then of course it is because now it's been reinforced. And again, with the whole food issue, junk in, junk out. We have never seen anything like this in our lives. And again, the way people dress. There's no decorum anymore. I remember, again, as a young guy, and by the way, I began my career working in Chicago. And I remember going into a restaurant without a jacket, not being allowed in.
Well,
that was the first lesson I got. If you want to eat in a fine place, you better dress fine.
Let me take a short break because we need to remind our listeners that you can join in our conversation of America's state of I don't care. And we welcome your reactions. Do you agree with our guest? Do you think that that we are showing a lack of pride in ourself and our country through our dress and through our weight and through our... We'll talk a little bit more about this maybe after the break, our apathy when it comes to politics. 1-800-642-1234 or send an email to talk@wpr.org. You can also post on the Joy Cardine Show Facebook page or tweet us at Joy Cardine Show. Our guest is Gerald Celente. He is the publisher of the TrendsJournal. He is the author of the piece in the summer TrendsJournal. Don't blame Obamacare, blame I don't care. How a lack of pride in self and country affect health and spirit. 1-800-642-1234 or send an email to talk@wpr.org. You're listening to the Ideas Network of Wisconsin Public Radio. I'm Joy Cardine. We are talking with Gerald Celente about how a lack of pride in ourselves and in our country is affecting our health and affecting our spirit. He wrote in the summer TrendsJournal that he publishes. Not too long ago, American citizens of all races, creeds, and colors had the deportment of a significantly more dignified human species. They were proud of themselves and proud to be Americans. This mega trend has been reversed. It took more than 2 generations, but we have come to the point where many Americans, too many, have lost their pride. They don't respect themselves or their nation. Literally and figuratively, they can hardly stand on their own 2 feet. Plagued by obesity and other preventable diseases, Americans can barely carry their own weight. Well, what do you think about this? What are the signs of not caring that you notice? Or do you disagree with what our guest is saying? 1-800-642-1234 or send an email to talk@wpr.org. You can also post on the Joy Cardine Show Facebook page. Well, we have lots of calls and Facebook comments. Let's go to Melanie in Madison to start off. Hi, Melanie.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi. I'm calling because I just really don't think that this is a trend that you're talking about. I think if you look at articles and people who comment on society for years, maybe 200 years, you hear about the fact that the next generation is just, not as good as the last one or doesn't care as much or, society is going to hell in a handbasket. And I just think that that's not necessarily the case in this instance either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that the figures and the facts point to a different direction. So, for example, people can say, well, things are going downhill from the last generation, and I agree with you. That's subjective, and people say, oh yeah, it's always been like that. But when you look at the numbers, again, when you look at obesity, and this never happened before, and then all the other examples that we give, the way people dress. The fact is, you go on an airplane now, people come in, it's a flying circus. You go into a department, you go shopping. Back in the day, regardless of any city, wherever it was in the United States, they were all little local department stores, and they reflected what the community was. Now you go into a Walmart or most of the other places, it's like going into a large self-storage unit. There's no decorum in there. It's done the cheapest way possible.